freedom, man. That's what it's all about. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome, one and all. You're watching What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. Ladies and gentlemen, government is slavery. And here on What on Earth is Happening, we are ending slavery one mind at a time. Thank you for tuning in today. We have a great show lined up for you. Today is Sunday, April 3rd, 2022. This is episode number 249 of What on Earth is Happening. We're rapidly approaching our 250th show here. And as always, What on Earth is Happening is a show dealing with cumulative information. That means that if you are a new viewer to the What on Earth is Happening broadcast, you should not be starting from here. You should go back to show number 1 in my podcast archive at whatonearthishappening.com, and you should listen and watch this podcast series in order at your own pace without skipping around, starting from number 1, because this is a tapestry of information that you need the prerequisite material in earlier broadcasts to understand what we're talking about this laid out into the series. So I'm going to continue to give that caveat constantly here on the broadcast. I want to take care of a few housekeeping announcements and actually show you a couple of things on my website as well today, since enrollment has opened for the 2022 How to Become the True Media Technology Seminar. So let's jump over to my laptop. Once again, thanks to Will Keller for all the awesome title cards for the show. Today's broadcast is entitled Fake Ass Anarchists Revisited, Part 4. This will conclude this extended series of shows on fake ass anarchy and fake ass anarchists. And we should even have time for calls. If we don't end up having time for calls on this broadcast, maybe I'll do an all call-in show on this entire topic that we've been covering for the past month. The next topic is going to be on the occult tradition of Thelema and how the Thelemic philosophy differs from Aleister Crowley and his life and lifestyle and the way he lived, and how one, in studying this form of occultic philosophy, needs to have the discernment to separate the two. So we'll be talking we will be talking about Crowley a lot when we talk about Thelema, of course, since he popularized it. But we're going to really be making a hardcore delineation between Crowleyanism, or, someone considering themselves a Crowleyite, which is a pretty bad idea, versus what Thelema really is as a philosophical school of thought, and what truly makes one, considered to be called a Thelemite who follows that occult philosophy. So that's coming up on a future broadcast of What on Earth is Happening. We're on the new streamlined show format with me simply producing at my desk without a full setup and broadcasting crew, production crew. So this format will be continuing for the time being until I really understand what's really going to be going on with my living situation, which I should have a clearer picture of in the next few months, next couple months probably. And we're on a 6-month on, 6-month off schedule from January through June. In the second half of the year, I will, of course, be teaching the How to Become the True Media seminar. So we'll be live here every Sunday, 3 to 6 p.m. from January through June. The How to Become the True Media 2022 seminar, enrollment has opened. Enrollment is open. It started on April 1st. At midnight, and enrollment will continue until we either hit the number of maximum enrollees that I'm going to allow in the course this year, so that it does not become too unwieldy and too impersonal. And we'll stop enrollment either at that point or at midnight on 11:59 p.m. on July 4th. So you really have until midnight, July 5th. But I'm wording that as enrollment continues through the day of July 4th, the whole day of the 4th of July. One could still electronically enroll in How to Become the True Media. How to Become the True Media is an intensive 23-week technology skill sharing seminar hosted by myself. We're going to be doing this on the Telegram platform this year, which we've tested out, and it looks pretty technologically up to par for something of this type. And it'll be taking place every Monday evening this year from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. 3-hour class instruction. We start 1 hour early to give people time to show up, and then we continue on for another couple to 3 hours after official class instruction ends at 11 p.m. to give people a time to discuss what was covered in the seminar and other technology discussion topics informally after the official class instruction is complete each Monday. So there is a total of 23 class sessions. As I said before, there is limited seminar space, and enrollment closes on the 4th of July. If you are going to enroll by check or money order, which are two options that I have additionally allowed this year, in addition to the donation methods that I normally take on gifts, my gifts area of my website, then you must get your check or money order to me by July 1st. I will not be accepting enrollments unless via check or money order, unless they are received before or actually by the 1st of July 2022. So keep that in mind if you intend to enroll via check or money order. For more information about all of the topics that the seminar will include, you can visit the seminar's website at howtobecomthetruemedia.com. Now, I'm going to pause here for a moment, and I want to go over to my web browser for a moment. So let me just get that set up briefly here. And I want to try to make it clear, absolutely clear to people, what forms of donation I accept and how the website is set up. I think this is important to do briefly before continuing. So let me load up the gifts website momentarily here and go back to my laptop. I'll load this full screen, and let's even go full screen with the browser. Sorry. There we go. So this is gifts.whatonearthishappening.com, my gifts area. Now, you could, of course, get to this by clicking on in my main website. Let me mute this. By clicking on in the main website here, you can just hit gifts right there. And then you have to agree that you have one of these donation methods set up. So these are the methods that I accept for gifts, and therefore these are the methods of donation that I accept for how to become the true media, because the enrollment happens through the gifts area of what on earth is happening. So you must have to enroll in how to become the true media. Either one of these, either Cash App, GPay, Wise, and one of these 5 cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum, or Dash. You must have at least one of them. So you have to agree here, yes, I have access to one of the following donation methods: Cash App, GPay, Wise, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum, or Dash. If you do, you click this link and then it takes you to gifts. Okay. Now you'll see I created a category both here on the front page that you can click, and that will then show you the item in the gift basket for how to become the true media. If you click that, then you get the description of the class. This is the entire description of the class, how it works essentially. And if you want to enroll, all you do is hit add to basket here. Now I'll do that again in one moment. I want to show you another way of reaching this. And again, this is a simple, shopping cart, gift basket, however you want to word it. But it does work differently than other gift baskets online because I don't accept credit cards directly. If you set up a credit or debit card through one of those other types of electronic accounts, such as Cash App, GPay, or Wise, then you could pay with that method indirectly. But I don't accept credit or debit cards, obviously, directly, because what on earth is happening is not a business. It is not I do not have a merchant account. It is not a limited liability corporation. It's not a corporation or business of any kind. It's simply a private educational outreach effort, and it's simply the name of my website. That's all it is. So we are obviously taking donations, in return for which you give a private donation to attend the seminar, in return for which you receive a private link to attend the seminar. It's a private invite, okay? That's how this works. So if you hit categories here, right after you're at the home page, if you hit categories, okay? And by the way, I just want to show you briefly, hitting home again, this big red bold read this first link explains all of this pretty much, okay? It explains the donation methods accepted. I know people generally, even though it's hitting them in the face and it's completely different color than the rest of the site, than the rest of the text, and it's in big bold font, right? Most people will never hit that and actually read about how this little gift basket is set up, okay? But if you do, then you'll understand how I operate for donations for hard copies of my items, for seminar, enrollment, etc. So if you read this, it'll explain all of that. I'm doing that in a short form here today. But if you hit categories, I've also added another little category link here, in addition to the other categories of items that we have on donation gifts. Okay, so if you click how to become the true media here, it also takes you to the page with the actual product item, and you click that. Now you get to the description page and you can hit add to basket. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually log in. So actually let me do that off screen briefly. Give me a moment here. Click the wrong button there. Let's go back here while I log in. Okay, I am now logged in, so let's switch back over to the laptop. I'll put this in full screen mode again. All right, so I'm logged in as a user of this basket. Now, you see that I've already added how to become the true media to the basket. I can now hit view basket, and it will show me the items that are in my checkout, or that are in my basket for checkout. Okay, so it's in there, the enrollment, and then all you would have to do is hit secure checkout. Now it says, let me just go back here. It says on the, I'll click back into gifts. It says on the item page, I'll click in through the categories on the side. It says here, if you wish, I'll make this a little larger so you can see the text a little more clearly. That's better. It says right here, if you wish to enroll in this seminar by personal check or money order, which must be received by July 1st, please send us an email to the following link, and please do not change the subject line. You hit this link, it would open your email client program. Should you have one set up, it should open your web-based email as well. And then you just basically tell us you want to enroll by check or money order. Make sure we have your full name and email address. Well, obviously, you sending us your email will get your address. Just make sure you put your full name in there. Then we'll send you the mailing address to send check or money order to. If you want to enroll like that, you really don't need to you don't need to check out here. Okay, that's only for people. That email link is there for people who want to enroll by check or money order right there near the bottom. Then there's another link if you have any questions that you need clarification about how the seminar works. Okay. So if I then go back to my basket, which is in this tab here, all right, and then I hit secure checkout, and everything is secure on our server end. We use SSL, and it's locked securely there, so you don't have to worry about your info. Okay, and then it tells you these are the donation methods that are accepted, just the same way that the caveat when you're clicking into the site through my main website, if you use that link, tells you these are the donation methods accepted. Okay, so then all this does is prints onto the screen your next steps. So if I hit Cash App here, okay, and I hit continue, it will just give you the information on what to do to fulfill your donation. So it just says stop and read this. Your order is not complete. Okay, to complete, you must first make your donation via Cash App. So then it gives you the amount, and it gives you the Cash App QR code, or my handle on the Cash app itself, which you could search for. And then you would send the donation amount, and that would be it. You don't have to do anything other than then interact with Cash App. It would be the same with GPay. It would be the same with Wise. If you choose a cryptocurrency, then it will simply give you my crypto address via QR code, or the full hash address. Then you make your donation, and then we will accept you into enrollment. That's it. It's that simple. People have a lot of problems with this process, unfortunately, almost entirely due to the fact that they do not read the caveats. And I'll put it on the How to Become the True Media website. Okay, it probably should have already been put there. It's sort of an oversight on my part, but I will put that we only accept donations via those methods. We accept Cash App, GPay, Wise, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum, Dash, personal check, personal money order. That's 10 methods of donation. 10 private donation methods are accepted for enrollment in How to Become the True Media 2022. I do not have PayPal. I have been banned unrightfully from the PayPal platform. I do not have Patreon. I have been banned unrightfully from Patreon. I cannot accept Subscribestar because of the taxation collection of data and reporting that they do, that I have not been given assurance by them, unfortunately, that they will not report whatever is sent to me via a private donation. Therefore, I cannot accept those methods. The methods right now that I am capable of accepting, which will also probably dwindle and decline as government puts more and more unlawful restrictions on what people may earn, I will probably have to go at some point to only accepting cryptocurrency. So let's utilize and probably personal check and money order. So let's utilize these donation methods while I still have them, because more likely than not, it will not be long before other donation methods are unrightfully and immorally removed from me and others who are speaking out and telling the truth about what is going on in this world. And these trash psychopathic Nazis and trash psychopathic communist clowns who control these internet-based monetary organizations are censoring people like the rotten trash totalitarians that they are. But it's okay, because the creator of the universe sees your actions, trash. And you'll be held accountable in this life or when you pass on from this life. You thinking that you're not is just your childish, atheistic hubris, loser. Okay? That's what people like that are. I'm talking about the people who run things like PayPal and Patreon and other garbage, trash vermin like that. And I'm just going to call you out the way you are. You're totalitarian vermin. So, that being said, enrollment, is open. You can click in through How to Become the True Media's website. It'll take you right to the item page for enrollment. And I'm just saying, folks, let's not overcomplicate it and make a lot of extra work for us who are trying to get people enrolled, right? And just make it a simple process for them. Just read the caveats. Okay, I'll add it to the How to Become the True Media site as well, right? Maybe I even put on the homepage of What on Earth is Happening. Okay, thank you to Will for making this great poster for me. Okay, we have a poster about the open enrollment. You can click that to get through to the enrollment page. It's very simple. We've made it very simple for people, actually. Okay, so I'm just asking people, don't overcomplicate it. Just understand before you try to enroll what donation methods I accept, why I can only accept these donation methods. Don't ask for other donation methods. I think 10 is unbelievably eclectic. It's a generous amount of options that we offer. It's not like we only have one way of donating. And you could always write a check or go get a money order with cash anywhere. At a grocery store, at a pharmacy, at a bank. It doesn't matter where you get it, okay? So, there's always that mail-in option, so there's really no excuse to say, I have no way of getting a donation to you. You have 10 ways of getting a private donation to us. Utilize one of them. Yes, it may not be one that is immediately convenient for you because you can't enter your credit card number. I'm not a merchant account. I don't do commerce. I don't have a business. I don't have an LLC. I don't have a merchant account. I'm never going to have one. I'm not entering that world. Okay? That should be clearly understood. I don't take part in that world. Okay? So this is a private event. It's not just anybody can come. You make a donation to me, to my effort, to my educational outreach effort, which is private. And then I will send you a private link to join the seminar. That is how enrollment works for How to Become the True Media 2022. That's how it's going to work on into the future. Okay? So you enroll with donation gifts. Please be aware of what we accept and what we don't accept. You can find that out by hitting the big, in-your-face, screaming link there. Read this first before doing anything else. Read this page in its entirety first. It explains this isn't an online store. We're not a business. It's not even an organization. Okay? This is not an organization. It's just Mark Passio, and What on Earth is Happening is the name of my website. That's all this is. Okay? There's nothing for sale or purchase. This is a donation page. Okay? I'm not engaged in selling anything or making or doing commerce because it's not a business. So you are giving a private donation to me personally. Okay? And then I'm inviting you to take part in my private seminar. that I am hosting privately, not open to the public in the traditional sense that a seminar is open to the public. You receive a private donation link to attend in return for your private donation toward my efforts of my educational outreach, my personal and private educational outreach effort called What on Earth is Happening. So it explains, this is how the gift basket works. This is how the shipping rates work, depending on where you're at in the world. Okay. How to check out. These are the accepted donation methods: Cash App, GPay, Wise, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Dash. If you don't have those, you have to get one in order to do anything on donation gifts. Okay? And that's pretty much it. Check and money order is just a specific exception for how to become the true media. So we don't accept check or money order on gifts for other items because it makes it too difficult to control inventory that way. And so that is only reserved for a digital item such as enrollment in how to become the true media. Okay? So keep that in mind. And once again, I just ask that users of gifts attempting to enroll understand these things and simply don't overcomplicate them. It's not that difficult, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that hard. Don't make it harder for yourself than it is. And enrollment will go very smoothly for you, as it has for the majority of the people who have already enrolled. And we've already gotten quite a nice amount of enrollments for the first couple of days. Enrollment only started 2 days ago. I'm very impressed with, people enrolling already. But, just like I said, as a caveat, don't overcomplicate it. Read the README page or the how to use page. That's all this one is, how to use right here, right? Takes you to the same place, okay? That's all you have to click. And try to make an effort to understand what I do here at What on Earth is Happening without a merchant account. I don't play the taxation game. I don't play the game of opening merchant accounts. I don't accept credit cards or debit cards, therefore. Okay? Everyone should already know that if they know anything about my work. But some people don't really listen to these broadcasts. They just click in through the website. They don't really pay attention. And then they screw things up, and then they wonder why it ended up being something difficult for them, when all you had to do was either listen to me, I explain it, I even took you through the process just now, okay? Or just read the README page, the how to use this gift basket page. That's it. That's all there is to it. So I just wanted to let people know about that before continuing. All right, let's jump back over to my announcements. Close out of that. Okay. So, for more information, visit howtobecomethetruemedia.com. I think this seminar this year is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to teaching it and taking people through it. The people who have already attended the seminar have said that they've gotten so much out of it. And there's already people within the first couple of years who are active content creators on One Great Work Network just because they've taken this seminar. It's not just because, it's, one of the contributing factors. Obviously, what they learned and what they know within themselves about the truth got them onto the network because they're out there courageously speaking that truth and doing a damn good job of it. But it's also because of the technical skill sets that they learned in the How to Become the True Media seminars of the past couple of years. So the people on the One Great Work Network personally should be a shining example and an inspiration to other people of what is possible if you put your mind to it and take something like the How to Become the True Media seminar. You will see that you will absolutely get more than your money's worth from it. I've never heard anybody complain about the value that they've received from the seminar. Everyone seems to be very pleased with the knowledge that was communicated. And then many people have gone even much further in putting that knowledge into practice in the world, up through even being onboarded onto the One Great Work Network themselves. So, let's continue. I'm still running a t-shirt clearance special on my gifts area of my website. All t-shirts are between 40 and 50% off. So long sleeve t-shirts are slightly over 40% off, and short sleeve t-shirts are over 50% off. I'm running out of shirts rapidly. I think this is probably going to go on for the next couple weeks, maybe, if that. And then shirts are going to be gone, and I'll be placing a new shirt order. So if you want to get shirts at the lowest prices that we've ever made them available, promotional items for your donation, you can visit gifts.whatonearthishappening.com and take advantage of this t-shirt clearance special that we're running. Of course, the One Great Work Network is active and running strong. You can visit the website to check out all the great content creators at onegreatworknetwork.com. We now have 60 content creators on the network, and they are doing a magnificent job of putting the word out in their own unique way. And we will be onboarding even more people. I am definitely onboarding at least one, perhaps two more people this coming week. So look forward to even more content creators coming at you on the One Great Work Network at onegreatworknetwork.com. The What on Earth is Happening IPFS project is a tech project to have users from all over the world host my personal content that I've delivered over the last many years here on What on Earth is Happening, since I started this educational outreach effort back in 2007, to put that on the internet in an uncensorable way through the IPFS peer-to-peer network and protocol. IPFS stands for Interplanetary File System. They call it part of Web 3.0, or what is known as the permanent web. The main restriction and requirement for taking part in the IPFS project is you must have an internet connection in your home where the server, or the node as they call it, will be set up, that has an internet connection of 200 megabits per second or greater in the upstream or upload direction. This is because you will be running a node or a server for the files, and it requires a lot of bandwidth in the upstream direction. So if you don't have that, then do not request participation in this project. If you do, you can fill out the form at the IPFS link at What on Earth is Happening on the main menu, and you can download the PDF document that has all of the preliminary requirements and tech requirements for participating in our IPFS project. So if you're interested in that effort, please visit whatonearthishappening.com/IPFS for more information. Again, today I will be completing Fake Ass Anarchists Revisited, Part 4. And those slides that round out that presentation will be coming at you momentarily. We will probably have time for your calls through Discord. If we don't have a lot of time, then I'll do a whole call-in show next week. But to call into the show via Discord, visit whatonearthishappening.com/Discord, or you can hit the show link on What on Earth is Happening, where you can watch the show live, and then just click the connect button in the Discord widget below the show player. There are two ways of entering the What on Earth is Happening Discord call-in room. So hopefully your calls coming at us in this show later on in this broadcast, if not next week. The ARC 2.0 version is a 2 terabyte storage device, whether a regular hard drive or solid state drive, that you send to me, and I ship back to you filled with some of the greatest research material that I've collected since I've been online. The ARC drive consists of over 26,000 audio files, over 9,500 books, and over 3,400 video files. It's from my own personal archive of research and data, gathered, the best material gathered and given to you. So if you're interested in taking me up on the ARC offer, visit whatonearthishappening.com/arc, or just click the ARC link on the main website. You will then be able to fill in the form and get the PDF document with shipping instructions. And yes, the shipping instructions are kind of rigid, and that is for protecting your property and for essentially having respect for and honoring my time to do this, because I run a pretty, decently large, what I would call medium scale, but for one person with a couple of helpers that aren't really technical helpers. They help with ancillary things. Some of them are a little bit technically inclined, but pretty much it's me doing all the tech work here. So the shipping instructions are the way that they are because I have to run it in sort of a factory fashion. Okay, I can't have ARCs building up in here and have a million different, customized things with each one. So be aware of that, and again, just respect the instructions and follow them, and there'll be no problems. People send ARCs here every single week, and for the majority of them, because they follow the directions, there's no issues. Some people, unfortunately, do not follow the directions properly, and then problems happen, and they don't get their ARCs back on time, and sometimes if they really screw it up, they don't get the data, and I don't want to see that happen, okay? So just take it seriously, and everything will go really smoothly. It's that simple. If you want to donate to receive a hard copy of my work on flash drive or DVD, or receive promotional items such as t-shirts, stickers, buttons, coasters, etc., keychains, visit gifts.whatonearthishappening.com, a great way to make a donation to receive physical items to continue to support my educational outreach efforts here at What on Earth is Happening. If you prefer instead to make a straight donation to help support the What on Earth is Happening cause, visit whatonearthishappening.com/donate. Again, 10 or more ways of donating. It's actually, I think, 11 ways of donating. All the methods that we accept in gifts. Plus, you could donate technical supplies through our Amazon wish list. That way you know exactly what the donation is getting us and what it's going to be used for. Right now we have nothing there because people have been very, very generous and supported all the requests for technology that we have put out there. And I thank everyone who did that from the bottom of my heart. It's been very generous of people to help us out technologically like that. So thank you, and I hope to see those types of generous efforts continued in the future by our generous supporters here. That's all the housekeeping announcements I have, so let me switch back over to my other presentation quickly. And I am also going to enter full screen mode with the presentation since it's in widescreen aspect ratio, 16:9. So this is the last, until later, until we take calls. If we take calls, that you'll be seeing me on video. Let's jump to the laptop in full screen mode. Sorry, I hit windowed mode. There we go. All right, this is the slide that we left off on this Fake-Ass Anarchist Revisited presentation last week in part 3. I was explaining what I consider to be the religious mindset of fake anarchists. How they have things that are simply untrue that they continue to cling to religiously as a false religion. They will not essentially say to themselves, I was wrong about my worldview and how I saw data in the world and how I interpreted things, and my perception has been misaligned to what is really there, to the actual point of fact, objective reality that really exists and is present all around us. Fake-ass anarchists are no different than statists in that regard. They interpret the world in a false way, in an incorrect way. This is why I've said over and over and over again, I've emphasized the importance of being correct, of actually being factually right. Because being right when it comes to what is true leads to doing what is right when it comes to what is moral. That's why they're called the same thing, right. Being right as far as data and information is concerned leads you to the point where your behaviors are in alignment with objective morality, and hence you are doing what is right. I can't overemphasize that enough. This is why people who, unfortunately, have skewed and distorted ways of perceiving the world often do not behave morally, because they've gotten very critical foundational information incorrect, because they did not use the trivium process. They just listened to another dope and dupe when it comes to what is true about behavior and morality, and many other things in the world that leads to immoral behavior. So last week, as one of the characteristics that we're exploring on the show regarding characteristics of the fake anarchist religious mindset, was they have a complete absence of knowledge of the occult. When you even bring up the word occult, their eyes roll. They look at this as just another ridiculous, quaint religious belief, set of religious beliefs, which it is not. It is a science. It is a body of scientific knowledge that is being held back from humanity in order to create a power differential. When you create a knowledge differential in the world by hiding how true sciences work, then you are easily able to dupe people and create a power differential in the world where your class of occultists hold that knowledge and information, and then they are keeping it secret to themselves so that they keep acquiring more and more knowledge and keep converting that knowledge into more and more power, thus creating a power differential between themselves and people who remain ignorant of those true but hidden sciences. That is what occultism is, unfortunately. That's why I consider myself a de-occultist. I am taking that information out from the realm of being hidden and putting it out there for people to understand in an egalitarian way, so that the playing field gets leveled and this type of manipulation of information and translated to a power differential cannot continue to happen in our world. That being said, we were at the point in talking about these fake-ass anarchist mindset that they have a complete resistance to occult knowledge. And we're trying to really determine, where does this resistance come from? Because if we're going to help them to understand, in order to understand freedom, you have to understand the world of the occult. Because if you don't understand what these manipulators are doing to curtail people's freedom and get other people to cheer on the destruction of freedom, then you don't understand how it works. You don't understand how the whole occult world is set up and functions, and how they're manipulating people's minds. It's mind control. You know, you even bring up mind control to certain anarchists and they don't believe that that's happening in our world. Very childish, naive mindset even. Okay? So we're trying to determine, where does that come from? Before we even continue with these bullet points here, I just want to say that what these forms of fake anarchists are people who, the first word I'm starting here, this slide with, the title of the slide is resistance to occult knowledge. That's what these fake-ass anarchists have. They're not resisting tyranny. They are resisting the very knowledge that they need to end tyranny. They're resisting the very knowledge that they need to understand to become free. So they're not in any resistance against power, because if they were in resistance against power, they would be in resistance against the occultists who are in power behind all of the ostensible institutions of power in our world, like banking, government, medicine, education, media, etc., and on down the line. But they're not in real resistance against any of that stuff. because they refuse to acknowledge and come to a place of understanding regarding who really runs those systems behind the scenes. You know, they'll have you have conspiracy theorists talking about all these other ridiculous notions. It's the Jews, it's the Jesuits, it's the Catholics, it's the Freemasons, and on they want to blame one group as a scapegoat. When in fact, it's an eclectic variety of people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all so-called ethnicities, all ostensible religions and ostensible politics, all coming together behind the scenes, running all that other shit like the puppet shows that they are. And they're working together behind those corridors of power to manipulate all of it. Because they're master manipulators, they're master psychologists, they're master strategists, they're master occultists, and most dumb dolts in this world know nothing about how they operate at all. And they're sitting there laughing at you, pissing their fucking pants every single damn day that people are so naive and stupid that they can't see how they do what they do. And then they just want to say, it's just the bankers. It's just the politicians. It's just the military-industrial complex. People who want to blame it on one group of people or just look at it from a 3D worldly perspective and not from a very deep psychological perspective, and then even going beyond that, a deep spiritual perspective, are total fucking fools and dupes. And you're not doing the world any service by continuing that dumbass mindset. And you're not doing the world any service by staying that fucking naive like a little dumb fucking naive child. Because that's what people who think that way are. So what we're trying to build here in this section is, what are the characteristics of their mindset that lead them to refusing and utter total resistance in understanding the world of the occult and how occult knowledge operates? Why do they insist on staying in that childish, naive mindset? What got them there was a prevalence of atheism and scientific materialism in their mindset, more likely than not programmed into them as a child, and they could never undo that programming because they're stubborn fools, and because maybe they've never even encountered the knowledge that can undo that programming. And then I would just say that's willful. They're not looking for it because it's out there. They want to stay in their religious belief system. Look, folks, I've had people actually come to me, and let me tell you something. I just want to just say this publicly. I may stretch this into a fifth week because I'm going to go off on some tangents about personal anecdotal experiences in my life. That's why this is an extended format, okay? Because I'm not just going to read the slides. I'm going to tell you about things regarding what's in the slides that I've encountered personally in life. And without mentioning names, there's people who want to attack my work on natural law. There's people who, you know that they're atheists. You know that they're just total pure materialism dupes. That they're butthurt because I'm attacking their bullshit materialism religion, right? That there is no such thing as consciousness or spirit. Everything's just dead matter. The dead matter formed from a nothing point in the distant past and suddenly created everything that we see with perfect law and harmony in the universe, not in the human psyche. But, and it was all a cosmic accident. You know, the universe just farted that out somehow, and it just all organized into the magnificence of organization that we see. Yeah, it's just a grand cosmic accident. I get how dumb, stupid, idiotic, imbecile religionists think. And yes, that's ad hominem. Yet the ad hominem is true because all of those things are correct. Again, when everybody attacks the ad hominem attack, you got to make sure that the ad hominem is false. You see? You got to get that right as well, right? An ad hominem attack can be true or false. I've explained that in past weeks. Everybody wants to go, that's an ad hominem. An ad hominem fallacy is when you're making an attack against an individual because you want to try to say that they are wrong only because you're making that ad hominem. No, I'm making an ad hominem anyway and calling them dumb fucking imbeciles because it's true. It isn't the reason that they didn't get the information right, but it still happens to be true. So the ad hominem is perfectly valid. Okay? Try to understand that. I know it's a little bit sophisticated, but if you apply it and really think about it, you'll understand what I'm saying. Okay? Maybe go back to the recording and listen to it a few times. All right? So there are people who will attack my work on grounds that they don't accept natural law exists. They don't accept that there's a higher power than man. Like I said, the universe just farted itself into existence, and we magically have all the order, beauty, creation that we have all around us. And that's their religion. They're entitled to being a fucking moron, but that's their religion, right? So they want to attack me because I have said many, many, many times over that disqualifies you from being a true anarchist. There is no such thing as an atheist anarchist. Does not exist, cannot exist, never will exist, because a true anarchist understands natural law. A true anarchist understands where natural law comes from, why it's in the universe, and how to align their personal behavior to it, and understands that their rights do not come from man, but come from the creator of the universe. Any true anarchist knows that information. They possess that knowledge. So when dumbass children who are pure fucking scientism dupes and have believed the dumbass atheist scientists out there who are really behind the scenes deep occultists. They are absolutely occultists in deep political think tanks, scientific think tanks, and organizations, eugenics operations, occult orders, and fraternal brotherhoods all over the world. That's where these alleged scientists come from to put their worldview out into the world to make people slaves. They know what they're doing, and they know that people are going to latch onto it because they had some kind of trauma regarding religion, right? And I don't really give a shit what your traumas are regarding religion. You can throw religion down the fucking toilet for all I care. I've been trying to tell people since day one, it's the only problem that we have here on earth is religion that holds people back from the truth. I don't have a religion, but I'm also not a scientism, dumb, naive, childish dupe that is bought into the atheism religion. Atheism is just as much of a religion as scientism is. And I know that's complicated for people who think unidimensionally to understand, okay? But it's true. Atheism is another religion. You could tack that on to churchianity. You could tack that on to, twisted forms of Judaism, tack it on to sick, imbalanced Islam, and whatever else, the caste system of Hinduism. It doesn't make a difference. It's just another religion. The understanding of natural law, as I've explained over and over and fucking over again, isn't a religion. It's a science with observable ways that it works. The ways that it works and the demonstrable results can be studied, they can be observed through their observation, and then they could even be predicted. That is actually the real scientific methodology. Unfortunately, people who call themselves scientists here want to only work within the materialistic confines of so-called science, which isn't true science. It's scientism funded by government grant money, which we've talked about. But unfortunately, again, these imbeciles that I'm talking about who want to launch into their nonsensical attacks regarding my work because they're butthurt that I'm calling them fake-ass anarchists will... And, there's probably several hundred of these types of people out there, if not thousands, then want to say, Passio's some kind of a plan to divide people, all this nonsense, right? So believe whatever the fuck you want, dumb dunce. Believe anything you want about your bullshit religion. Stay there for all I care about. It's your karma, but unfortunately, when people become influencers, then they're influencing other people and then damaging people's rights who really do want to achieve true freedom. So it becomes problematic. I don't want them silenced. I say whatever dumb imbecile shit you want, but then other people should take what they say with a grain of salt and exercise discernment and judgment regarding it to see if their argument holds any water. And in every case, it really does not, because once again, their worldview is ultimately influenced by the real shills that are in the whole human sphere of influence, which ultimately, if you really trace where what they're saying came from, it comes from these globalist and occultic think tanks throughout the world and secret societies and occult brotherhoods. What I want to say in general is, what I just said there is probably about as much attention as I will ever give any of these people. I don't answer them. I pretend they don't exist because, quite honestly, they don't fucking exist because they don't fucking matter. All they're doing is things that are just pointless. They're not helping anybody, you know. Where it would matter is if enough people actually paid attention and they continue to listen to their nonsense and then start thinking that way and try to influence other people. But honestly, they don't even have that. None of these people I'm talking about have that type of even a platform or an audience. And most of the people who do hear their arguments realize they're just dumb fucking dupes. So they're zero threat to the point where I need to quote unquote be worried about them. You know, just like, unfortunately, I don't have that big of a platform, so I can't really reach and influence the better part of the world. That's why the occultists haven't taken a shot at me, because they feel I'm no threat to them. I admit that myself. I'm the first person to admit that. I'm the first person to tell people that. But to go back to what I'm going to bring up as an anecdote here, occasionally these people do see the light. Occasionally these materialistic atheist anarchists do see the light. And a couple of years back, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I'm going to say at least 3, one of the people who formerly thought like this came up to me on the street and apologized and said, I finally awoken, truly, and had a profound spiritual awakening. And then I realized that I was wrong in kind of dismissing what you were saying, sort of poo-pooing it, and it finally struck me like a bolt of lightning that everything that you were talking about regarding spirituality, regarding the world of the occult, was true. And it just got this individual up off their ass to really be motivated to do something, instead of looking at it only from a perspective of political and financial machinations in the world by politicians and bankers. And it's more than one person has told me this, but more recently, the last time it happened was a few years back. And I just want to offer that as a kind of a caveat, a prequel to what we're going to continue talking about in this class, in this presentation, because I feel it's very important for people to maintain hope, because you can explain this to the people where either they will eventually get it or some event in their life may trigger them to go back to what you said to them so that they get it. So people should not give up hope in talking to people to try to convince them and try to get them to understand. It can happen. Most people are so fucking blockheaded. They're cement heads. They're never going to get it. But there are some that the effort is worth, that you can reach them, or an event later on in their lives will touch them, and then they'll go back to thinking about what you said. And that's what these few people who have come around have said to me happened. So just wanted to offer that as a personal anecdote regarding this. So in addition to just their atheistic and scientismic mindset, they're anchored in materialism, probably because they had a traumatic event in their childhood regarding religion of some kind, or religion was a negative influence in their lives in some way, and that's to be understood, right? Obviously, that happens with more people than not regarding religion. But that doesn't mean that you stay there and you don't grow into spiritual adulthood and understand, yeah, religion is bunk, but so is the thing that they're positioning as its dipole, as its diametric perceived opposite. To set up this schism of you have to choose the dialectic, the polarization dialectic of either one of the world's religions or atheism. No, I don't need to choose any of that crap, because you know why? It's all shit. Every one of those ideologies is shit. And I don't need to be polarized into making a false choice between shit A, shit B, and shit C. Thank you very much. I don't want shit on a plate. You can have that, but I have more respect for myself, and I don't want shit on a plate. Okay? But that's what most people accept for themselves. So the answer is refusing the shit on a plate that is given to us by the mind-controlling occultists of our world, and say, I'm going to stop eating shit on a plate, and I'm going to actually try to understand how the world really works, and how I've been manipulating into not understanding how the world really works. So moving on to bullet point number 2 here, they have a left brain form of dominance. Their left brain is obviously the one that is dominant, and they haven't balanced the brain hemispheres. And once again, yes, that doesn't mean that there's no activity in the right brain. That's not how neuroscience works. It means that they've been chronically engaged in the type of thinking and the brain characteristics that generally are made possible by the left brain hemisphere. And yes, that does hold true as a general model in neuroscience. And no, it has not been disproven as a myth. What's disproven is that this means you're only firing in the left brain hemisphere and the right brain hemisphere is damaged or not firing at all. It's not how it works. Obviously, there's still neural activity in both hemispheres, but the person is constantly engaging in the type of brain activity that is largely responsible by the left brain. It's made possible by the left brain, and they're in left brain dominance as a result of that kind of thinking. Again, then patterns of synaptic firing take place in their brain, and they get locked into a way of thinking. That's a belief system. That's an ideology. That's a religion. A false ideology and a false religion. And that is how this works. Circuits that fire together, wire together, and then people get locked into patterns. And this is what has happened with the fake-ass anarchist that refuses to understand occultism. That it is a science. That occultic knowledge comprises a science that is being hidden from us. And we talked about that last week. And what knowledge that contains. Knowledge of the psyche, how it can be manipulated. Knowledge of large systems when it comes to humanity and how people generally work. And it also has all of the physical sciences included in it and how they really work from a true perspective, not from a perspective of science as we've been allowed to see it through institutionalized science, funded by governments. So, occult controlled banker money. So this is the problem. They're left brain dominant, and that's because they've had no spiritual development, probably came from an atheistic family or background, or experienced some type of trauma when it came to some bullshit religion that made them throw the baby of spirituality out with the bathwater of religion. Throw the religion down the drain. Hold on to the true spirituality. Don't throw that baby out with the bathwater. Okay? Consciousness and true spirituality have to be retained, while religion has to be shed as a limiting factor. And this is all a direct result of coming out of the total indoctrination system of outcome-based education that we here in the Western culture laughingly call education. Has nothing to do with real education, which means to lead someone out of darkness and to lead them to truth. We have an indoctrination, outcome-based system set up that is trying to just get people to understand only what they need to be a lifelong dupe and work for the globalists and do their bidding and not have any real power in their lives, not have any true spirituality in their lives, and certainly not create a problem for the globalist occultists who are really running this planet. The third bullet point, they have a deeply entrenched belief that the secular goals of power and money are the only and ultimate desires of the ruling class. As I said, people will say over and over again, what's the point of all of this? They have all the money in the world already. They have all the reins of power. They control all of that. Nobody is really, today, even actively much of a threat to their power and money system. And they still want more and more control. They're not happy that they have 99% and everybody else has 1%. They want it all, but that's not all they want. They're not going to stop there. Even if they get all the resources, you think they will stop there? They want the breaking and total annihilation of the human soul. That is their goal. It's a spiritual goal. It's not just a secular, worldly goal. And these people refuse to acknowledge that because of the horror that is self-contained within that. They don't just want all the money. They don't just want all the resources. They don't just want even all the power politically that stems from that. They want spiritual power. They want your will. They want you to be broken as a complicit and complying and willful slave. And what that ultimately means is they've turned you over to evil. And they've destroyed your soul in the process. And that's their real goal. It's a soul harvest. Their goal is a soul harvest. And if you haven't understood that by now, you're not paying fucking any real close attention. Yet that's what these people refuse to accept. They don't want to acknowledge the horror of what the real occultists and real globalists behind the scenes want. And so they want to stay in this bullshit paradigm that all they want is power and money. They want your fucking soul, child, little boy, little girl. That's what's at stake, whether you believe you have one or not in your idiocracy, okay? Whether you want to accept that exists or not, the occultists know that it does, and they're coming for it. And you're probably going to give it to them without a fight because you're that hard-headed, you're that stubborn, you're that dumb, you're just ignorant, you're just dumb. You're just dumb, son. You're just dumb. You know? Dumb, naive children get played and duped by the real criminals. The real occultic criminals in the world. It's fucking child's play for them. And that's their real goal, whether you accept it or not. The fifth bullet point on this slide is it's connected with the fourth, really. They just don't want to accept that a priest class runs things. They don't want to accept that covert religion is at work in our world and covert religion runs things. See, it's not that hard to figure out, folks. The old religious systems were in a state of decline. So the real rulers of the world, who are deep psychological occult sorcerers, were saying to themselves, these ridiculous religious stories don't work on most people anymore. A few of the really fucking dumb, hardcore assholes still believe in all that bullshit that we fed them thousands of years ago. We crammed down their throat for thousands of years. Ruled them that way mercilessly. Led to the death and destruction of countless untold millions of people. And yet some of the hardest-headed fucking fools still believe in all that nonsense. But the majority of the world sort of woke up to that, realizes it's such bullshit that it's unfathomable that humanity was that dumb for that long. But they were. And we got to give them a new religion. So let's invent some new religions. What can we invent? We can invent the so-called antithesis of the religious community, right? We'll invent atheism as a religion. We know there's true spirit in the world. We know how that there's spiritual laws operating, but as dark occultists, we got to keep them away from that. So let's invent atheism. That's one new religion they invented. Well, we got to invent government. Well, let's invent that religion. You know, we'll create that religion for them. And most people fervently believe in that one, the religion of authority, because that wasn't hard. It's just like instead of having actual priests rule over you in a cultural religion, dressed in priest robes, we'll just throw them in a 3-piece suit. That's the new priest class that we trot out in front of society in a seen way, in a visible way, and that we'll call them politicians, but it's still feeding into the main religion of authority. All the cultural religions of the ancient world fed into the religion of authority, and now the new religion called government feeds into authority. We can create the religion of the monetary system, you know? But yet, these unfortunately are all mechanisms, right? You have atheism, you have government, the belief in authority, the monetary system, etc. And you could talk about a million more fake bullshit religions, the flat earth movement, the Hitler was the good guy movement. We can go on and on with these psyops. All the fake forms of anarchy fit under these false religions and psyops. The dark occult created every one of those fucking religions. Dumb fucks. You dumb fucks. But no, only your religion's untouched. Only your religion is safe. You know what the religion they didn't create? How natural law works, because they don't want anybody they control knowing that. You know what the religion they didn't create? True anarchy. Coming through an understanding of natural law and the refusal to accept any form of worldly authority. Oh, they don't want that. That doesn't help their plans. But go ahead and continue to believe that your bullshit religion that you're latching on means anything except as a system of control implanted into society, injected as a lethal virus for the control system that they are building and have built. But the one religion that people at all costs want to refuse to accept, that is even at work, is the existence of the covert religion of real Satanism. See, even if they buy into Satanism from a selfish perspective as a de facto Satanist, or what I call a mini-me Satanist, they don't want to really, most of these people who buy into all these forms of materialism don't really want to understand that the priest class of the ancient world is still just continuing today as the priest class of the modern world, and it's the covert religion of Satanism, dark occultism, dark Luciferianism, etc. Because, again, that's a horror to them. They don't want to live in that world, so they don't even want to look at the truth of whether that's happening. They want to throw their hands up and say, no, I don't want to hear it, like the imbecile woman in the slide, right? They want to put their fingers in their ears like the little fucking child at the beginning of the presentation, right? They want to pull the covers up over their head like a little child laying in bed that's scared of the monster in the closet, and when he pulls the covers up over his head, the world goes away. There's nothing but the world under the covers in their little fucking bubble. And you can't tell these people, in most cases, in about 90% or greater of the cases, there's no telling these people. They got a head as hard as a fucking block of diamond, and they are not going to listen to reason or facts. They want to believe what they want to believe because they're still in a psychological mindset of a child who doesn't want to accept how the world really works. That's the answer. My answer to them is believe whatever the fuck you want, stay in your little fucking bubble, but try not to do too much damage to other people who do want to try to learn and do want to improve the world. If you just want to be the low-life asshole that sits in their fucking house, believes in your atheist bullshit, then sit in your fucking house and do that. In general, if you go and try to convert everybody to your bullshit worldview, you're harming them. I'm not saying you don't have freedom of speech. You want to exercise your freedom of speech and go and do that. Go right the fuck ahead. But in all honesty, I think people with any true discernment, people with any true logic in their mind, people who have come to terms with the world, people who have psychologically and emotionally grown up and become actual adults in their mindset, regardless of their biological age, don't really want to listen to people's worldview like that, because they know, one, it's untrue, and two, it is really based on hopelessness. And I'm not saying buy into the hopium religion, but these people basically are like, everything came from something that is dead, therefore everything is dead, therefore nothing matters, and everything is just atoms. And there's no purpose. Like, why not just fucking off yourself now? You don't live a purpose-driven life. Why do you care about freedom if it doesn't involve something that is of a higher nature than your physical flesh? If you don't really care about whether it's truly right or wrong, if you don't believe that there's actually higher laws in nature that are about justice, that are about cosmic justice. Maybe I need to make a new presentation on this. I made a presentation called Cosmic Abandonment. Maybe I should make a presentation in the near future, called Cosmic Justice, and explain that that's the force that really rules all of creation. And that if we're going to lead any kind of a purpose-driven life, we have to attempt to align our will with that will of cosmic justice. And this is what Thelema is ultimately about. So indirectly, I'm going to be doing that in a couple weeks here, or maybe next week. So I think I've explained their resistance to the occult knowledge and why they don't want to grow up, why they don't want to accept that reality. They don't want to accept that there's a priest class that runs the world through covert religion and mind control and social engineering. They want to believe it's just political and just financial so that they can hide within the secular. It's just like the flat earth movement just wants to make everything about God did it. God did it. It's so unbelievable because the model is so fucking retarded and unbelievable that only God could come up with something like that. Let me tell you something. You're not making such a good case for your God. Okay? If you want people to believe he made that model. But that's what it all boils down to, right? So just like a sick, extremely mentally damaged religionist invents a paradigm and a worldview and a model of the world to get people to believe in their God, right? The flat earth movement can be ultimately summed up by two words, and I've said this before: because God. That's all anybody really needs to know about the whole flat earth psyop. Everybody who believes in it is a dupe of religion. That they think this is the ultimate proof of God's existence. No, it's not, dumbass. Natural law is the ultimate proof of God's existence, but you're too fucking dumb to understand it. So you latch on to a bullshit CIA psyop religion that they invented back in earnest in 2014. They put out that it's been around for probably thousands of years, but they reintroduced it to the world in the 2010 decade. Probably around 2013, 2014, it started coming on in earnest. And it's the exact same thing. They're getting people to latch on to something that is a religion that isn't true, just the way they're getting atheists and scientism believers and followers to latch on to those religions, even though they're not true, because getting more and more people to believe in that, you will not accept the truth of natural law. You will not accept the truth of objective morality is the way out. You're going to think trying to convince people that the world is flat and looking like a fucking imbecile is the way out. You're going to convince people that trying to think that the universe is a grand cosmic accident and looking equally as much of an imbecile is the way out. None of these are ways out. They're fucking traps that were invented by the fucking occultists, dumbasses. And I want everybody who's... I refuse to make this a screaming show. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to say, I don't have any respect for you if you don't agree. I don't need you to be on my social media. You're a waste of space. You're crap. Okay? You're just useless. You're useless to me. You're useless to everybody else. If you believe in flat earth, Get the fuck off of all of my social media. I don't want you as a quote-unquote friend in the digital space any more than I would consider you a fucking friend in the physical space, in the physical domain. I wouldn't hang out with you there. I don't have any respect for you as a human being. Because if you're that fucking dumb to fall for a psyop like that, I don't want anything to do with you. I wish you wouldn't go try to influence others, but more likely than that, that's what dumb religious followers do, unfortunately. They go try and spread the good news to other people. I'm not here to fucking spread psyops to other people. I am here to tell people the truth about how to fucking get out of the slavery system that we're in. And again, other people, I want to say this to people involved in not involved, but who have fallen for those psyops as the dupes that they are because they're so dumb. Your IQ is low, boy. Your IQ is low, little girl. Okay, I don't even know. I want to insult you so fucking badly that you don't want to be friends with me on social media. I don't want your fucking friendship. You're not my friend. You're a fucking moron. Do you understand? Get off my social fucking media. Unfriend me. Block me. Even better. You're a fucking moron. You've bought fucking occultic religion. You've bought the religion that your occult masters have shoved in your ass. Which is where your head's at. That's why they had to go in that way. So let's continue. What the ignorance of the occult and the refusal to accept the understanding of the science of true occultism ultimately leads to is an ignorance of natural law. That's why they don't want people to understand the occult. I've said it a million fucking times. The thing that they're protecting is the understanding of natural law. If you throw the occult out, you throw out natural law with it. Natural law is the deepest information that is held in the occult world. It's the deepest knowledge that they are holding to themselves, because if that gets out in a worldwide way, people are going to level the playing field. They're going to understand how they've gotten all the people to carry out their bidding for them so they won't take the karmic debt of those wrongful, immoral behaviors. The police and military are going to understand how they're fucking total dupes and used as tools of these Satanists and dark occultists. People are going to understand how freedom is truly generated through moral behavior. They're going to understand how slavery is truly generated through immoral behavior and condoning immoral behavior, even if you're not actively engaged in its physical doing yourself. If you condone it, you're part of the process. A continued ignorance of how natural law really works is going to ensure a continuance of slavery, because people will not know how natural law and freedom go forever hand in hand. And that is, in another way of saying, the lack of understanding of the true laws of manifestation. This is the true laws of attraction. Not the fake New Age bullshit laws of attraction about acquiring money and riches and happiness and living your fucking bliss like so many New Age fucking dupes believe that it is. These are the real laws of attraction. These are the real occultic laws of attraction, the occultic laws of manifestation. This is how it really works. Not how some bullshit New Ager told you in a book or video. Natural law, as I call it, is the science of freedom. Natural law is a science of morality that can be directly observed in operation in the 3D world. The evidence of the existence of natural law is the resultant state of existence which humanity receives as a direct consequential result of its aggregate behavior. A mouthful, makes perfect sense. Let's say it again slowly and explain it. It's a science of morality. It's not a belief system. It's not a religion. It's deep scientific knowledge of how moral choice leads to your experience in the world. The quality of your moral choices are directly, consequentially related to the result that you get in your experience within the world. It can be directly observed. That's another thing that makes it a science. No belief is required. It is understandable through direct observation over somewhat long periods of time. That's the problem. Humanity is stuck in short-term view. And when something requires a very long view of history to understand how it operates, most people are blind to that dynamic. So we have to understand that natural law is directly observable. We have to just simply do the observation and make those observations and make those track that observation over time in the 3D world so we can see what the pattern is. Most people have never done that and have not made an endeavor of that, made an effort to do that. Continuing, the evidence of the existence of natural law is the observable resultant state of existence which humanity receives. Meaning, we can understand natural law by looking at the observable result of the human condition. How you understand how you got to the human condition is you understand the choices that led to the human condition, the behavioral choices, the moral choices that led to that condition. People made moral choices, and then they exercised behavior in the world, and then the behavior was either moral or immoral in the aggregate, and then natural law provided the result, the consequential results of those moral decision-making processes and the behaviors that people chose as a result of what they believed to be true or right. And that's why it's so important to be correct about being right and what is right and what is wrong. So the evidence of the existence of natural law is the resultant state of existence which humanity receives, in other words, the human condition that we get, as a direct consequential result of humanity's aggregate behavior. And again, in parentheses, I put there so it could be easily understood. They're receiving the human condition. This is the condition that we must live in as a result of our behavioral choices and then carrying out those behaviors. In other words, we made our bed, now we must lie in it, and now we must experience the result of what we chose. It's the laws of consequence. It's choice and consequence. That's all it is. It's a cosmic game of choice and consequence. The law of freedom has a quantifiable effect. That means we don't have to guess at it. It's not a religion. It's not a belief system. It works as a science. The effect that we receive in the world as a direct result of what we believed in, as how we thought, then what we did through our behaviors has a quantifiable effect and result in the world that comes out through the human condition that we experience as life, as quality of life on this planet. And then the conclusion is very simple. The aggregate freedom of the people of any given society is directly proportional to that society's aggregate morality. And since we are essentially, for the most part, a global society, we are being given the result, the consequence, karmically, consequentially, in direct proportion to the aggregate moral decision-making and moral behaviors that we have made as a species on this planet at this time. Aggregate freedom is directly proportional to aggregate morality. So there I write the law of freedom scientifically as a very simple mathematical equation. The sum of human freedom is directly proportional to the sum of human morality. That's it. That is a law. That's not a theorem. That's not a theory. That's not speculation. That is a law that is extant in the universe, was put there by creation itself, and will exist for as long as the universe exists. We collectively reap the result of the behavior that we collectively sow. That is the law of attraction, ladies and gentlemen. It is not a belief. It is not a woo-woo fucking imbecile, idiotic, new age bullshit religion. It is a quantifiable science that is discoverable through the trivium method of truth discovery. It exists in nature. It is not a constructural idea of the mind. This is a law of nature that exists in the 3D domain. And yet, most people will refuse to believe it, not believe it. They'll refuse to even try to learn about how it works, to accept its existence, to accept its operation. No belief is required. They refuse to come to a place of knowledge regarding it by studying it observationally and through testing, which can be done. And I've told people I have done experiments on it in the past to see what the results would be, whether choosing moral behavior would lessen chaotic outcome in personal life, not just in the aggregate. And it does. Absolutely. And then more chaotic behavior comes about when more immoral behaviors are chosen and enacted. Fake-ass anarchists who are atheists and other forms of uneducated individuals who simply will not learn how things really work and want to believe in a bullshit religion that they've chosen for themselves, have no true understanding of the true laws of manifestation at work all around them. And so they're the retarded child who's totally fucking slow on the uptake and keeps touching the hot burner over and over and over and over and over again. And then wondering, why is the flesh melting off my hands like a bunch of fucking burnt marshmallows on a stick? You know? Oh, my hand looks like a burnt fucking marshmallow. And the skin's just dripping off the bone like marshmallows cooked too long drip off a fucking stick over a campfire. Why is this happening? Let me go put my hand over the fucking burner again. I mean, that is how retarded humanity actually is, folks. You know, to describe it viscerally and hopefully in a somewhat dark, humorous way. But that's humanity. Oh, wait a minute. There still seems to be a couple of pieces of flesh on the bones of my hand. Let me go put them over the fucking range again. I mean, it's really how fucking moronic people are. The vast majority of modern day so-called anarchists, still, quote unquote anarchists, still do not recognize or understand the underlying causal factors for the current human condition of slavery. Most modern so-called anarchists pay lip service to freedom without ever becoming aware that the true natural governing dynamics, which actually determine the level of freedom which human society will experience. I'm sorry, they never themselves become aware. They pay lip service to freedom without ever becoming aware of the true natural governing dynamics which actually determine the level of freedom which humanity will experience. Because those are based in cosmic laws, natural law, that they don't accept exist because they don't accept a creator of the universe in most cases. These fake-ass anarchists see the problems that we face only from the level of symptoms. They don't see the causes. They only look at, oh, it's politics. Oh, it's finance. These are symptoms. These are means to an end. They're not causes. It's just like the Merovingian said in The Matrix, you come to me without why. You don't have the causal factors. You don't know what got you here. You come to me without why, and so you've come to me with no power. No power to create change lies in the realm of effects. All power to create change lies in the realm of causality. And most fake-ass anarchists, I should say all fake-ass anarchists, you're not in the causal realm. Dynamically, in your mindset, you exist only in the realm of effects, and therefore you have no power. You have no power to make any change happen in the world because you still haven't understood and you haven't analyzed, understood the causal dynamics that exist regarding these problems that you're experiencing and saying you don't want. So they're stuck in a time loop. They're stuck in a cyclical circle of non-logic. They see the problems we face from the level of symptoms, but they lack the required knowledge to accurately identify the true causes of those problems, which invariably lie in the aggregate consciousness of the human population. It's not a matter of fixing politics or reforming our system. It's a matter of increasing aggregate consciousness of how things really work when it comes to a moral perspective, from moral foundations. This is a matter of choosing moral behaviors aggregately, and then we will receive the consequential result of human freedom aggregately, meaning in the collective. For those who may not be familiar with the word aggregate, it means collectively. In the aggregate means in the whole of society. You're not measuring it from just an individual perspective. You're looking at the totality of it in all of society. That's what aggregate means. This is the poster child of all fake-ass anarchists, except stretch it out over time and have him do this every half an hour or so. And then he's still screaming and wondering why his hand hurts. That's fake-ass anarchists all over the world. They're the dumb little fucking boy who keeps putting his hand over the hot burner and saying, why am I getting burned over and over again? Because you're a fucking moron. You're fucking retarded. That's the answer. Stop acting like a fucking retarded moron and understand the correct natural governing dynamics at work, which are the causal factors, and then you'll understand something about how the fucking world works, dumbass. Here's another thing fake-ass anarchists don't understand and refuse to understand, that our reality is built upon the trivium. The trivium process is an ancient methodology of truth discovery, which enables individuals to learn how to think. It doesn't teach them what to think, it learns them how to analyze reality. And it's also what creates our reality. Meaning, the reality that we experience, I don't mean it created the realm of matter and its laws. That's not what I mean by that. I mean the reality of the condition that we are experiencing as life on Earth is a direct result of our trivium process. Did we attain knowledge through putting the correct information into our minds? Did we understand that information and know what it means consequentially? And then did we actually then align our behavior to right and willfully choose right behavior over wrong behavior? Therefore, enacting moral behavior, enacting voluntary behavior in society instead of coercive and violent behavior, and not condoning coercive and violent behavior, which all government is. Did we put that trivium process of truth discovery into work in our lives so our own thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned with truth and true goodness? True morality, objective morality? Or didn't we do that? When we do it, we get one result, which is called freedom. When we don't do it, we get another result, which is called chaos and slavery. Do we want order and freedom? Or do we want chaos and slavery? Then you better know how the trivium works. The tools of the trivium help individuals to remove their erroneous belief systems. So this would be the trivium as a solution to getting out of fake-ass anarchy. Fake-ass anarchists and their beliefs in what they think anarchy is when it is nothing to do with what they believe it is. The trivium is a tool to remove that religious thinking. It removes erroneous thinking, erroneous so-called logic, erroneous belief systems. You're going to remove the logical fallacies that got you to the wrong answer and therefore got you the wrong condition that you're saying you don't want. You got the result that you say you don't want. That's what we have societally. But people don't want to learn the trivium, how to remove those logical fallacies and come to the correct fucking answer. The trivium helps to remove erroneous belief systems and magical thinking, quote unquote, and come to accurate conclusions about what is true versus what is not true, including the truth about natural laws that govern human behavior. The trivium method is, not at all surprisingly, completely absent from almost all modern educational systems. Of course, they don't want people understanding this. The education system isn't there in the modern world to tell people how to think, to teach them how to think. It's there to tell them what to think and penalize them if they don't come out of it thinking that way. That's it. It's there to prepare you for the slavery of adulthood. They're putting children in as child slaves and making sure they don't come out thinking for themselves, so they don't want to be slaves anymore. They make sure they're going to come out not thinking for themselves, so that they will want to be slaves for the rest of their damn lives. The word trivium etymologically derived from the Latin tria, meaning three, and via, meaning path. So the threefold path to knowledge is how you could look at the word trivium. In the ancient world, it was knowledge. It was knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. In the classical sense, it was grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And in the modern sense, from a computing model, you could look at it as input, processing, and output. So the steps, number one, knowledge was known as grammar in the classical sense and input in the modern day sense. Step number two, understanding, means you, after aggregating the knowledge in step one, all the seemingly disparate and possibly even unconnected pieces of data, you gather that data together, and that's when you have the knowledge or the grammar. That's the input stage. This is what most people compliment me on my work from the perspective of they didn't have enough knowledge. They knew a lot of it, but they didn't see how it all fit together, meaning they were still lacking grammar that would lead to, number two, a correct understanding. They didn't have all of the information they needed to see how all of those things fit together as a control system. This is the number one compliment that I get on my work, that I aggregated all of the grammar together in one place for them so that they could come to an understanding of how it fit together and what it meant in step two, that's the logical processing. Again, in the ancient world, they called that understanding. In the classical sense, this is applying logic, applying logical transforms to your data set to weed out logical inconsistencies, things that are incoherent or, don't fit or make sense, and you're trying to come to a sensible understanding of how it all fits together and works. And so you weed out those logical inconsistencies in step number two. This is how a computer, this would be debugging in a computer, right? Input, you're just entering the commands and the codes. Processing, yes, the computer can do transforms based on your data, your processing, based on your programming. But another form of it would be debugging, right? If you're getting the wrong answer, well, you got to go back and program it correctly so that it processes it correctly, right? So this is how the first two steps of the trivium work. Then once you do have that understanding, that's not the end of it. Just possessing knowledge and the understanding of how things work, step number three, the all-important step, is you have to act rightly upon it. This is where a lot of my viewing audience is stuck. This is what I talk about in How to Become the True Media. Most people are stuck at the point where they're saying, well, I know this is all going on, but what can I do about it? And I know you're saying that, and you have been saying that to yourself. And the answer is, you got to learn how to communicate in the modern world to put it out there in a wide way. And that's doing that with computing. And if you just say, well, I'm just no good with computer, you're making an excuse. There is no excuse in today's world. I'm just not good with computers. No, what you mean is you haven't been paying attention for 30 fucking years. Let's be honest. That's what you fucking mean. You haven't been doing your homework for the last 25, 30 fucking years. That's the answer. Or even if you're young, you've been punked out and you've been dissuaded from looking into the power of actual computing and actual creation of media, and you're just duped into becoming a fucking consumer of other people's information on your black fondle slab. And they're telling you that's a computer. Bullshit. That's a consumption device that they get you not to understand computing by endlessly fondling. Again, I'm not saying you can't do some things with a mobile device, but they're crippled when it comes to a true computer. A true computer is a desktop system with a large monitor. The other thing, just to go off on a tangent about this for a moment, like I said, when I think about something that needs to be said, I'm going to say it in an extended way, because that's we're talking about the third step of the trivium, true wisdom. Wisdom isn't knowledge. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Wisdom has nothing it has to do with what you know, because it's what you do with what you know. That's what wisdom is. Doing the right thing with what you have come to know and understand. Again, in the classical sense, this was called rhetoric. How to put out a rhetorical argument to help people to learn. Putting your rhetoric out there. And then this is the output stage. This is printing to the screen. This is printing to a printer. This is uploading to the internet. How do you get it out there? And this is where most people fail in the third step. That's why they're not wise. See, don't tell me you're a wise person if you're not actively putting information out there. You don't have a drop of wisdom inside of you. Let me just say that again. Just like, I'm going to hit people with things they're going to have to think about for a second, and they're going to go, when they first hear it, they're going to do like a double take and go, oh my, how could he say that? Just like I said, there's no such thing as an atheist anarchist. It's true. Get as offended as you like. There's no such thing as an atheist anarchist. Here's another one. Get as offended as you like. Most people watching this broadcast, or who have been watching and listening to me since day one, you don't have a drop of wisdom inside your soul. Because if you've only been listening and you claim to know what I've been talking about, and others like myself have been talking about, and you claim to have an accurate understanding of what's going on in the world, but you yourself haven't been involved in outputting that information to others. And I'm not like talking about like throwing something on your social media one day when you feel like it. I'm talking about creating something that is permanent, that no one can take down. Creating something as a part of your personal record of things. Your testament. That's why it's testimony. You're putting it into testamentary. It means it's going to be here after you're gone. Okay? That's what it means. That's what a testament is. It's a testament to your existence, that you spoke the truth, that you put the truth out there for others. That's wisdom. Most people watching and listening have no wisdom. You're not a wise person. You're a person who's knowledgeable. You're a person who understands what's going on. But to become wise, you have to put it out there for others. And most people don't understand the definition of the word wisdom in that capacity. And that is what it means. It's not what I think it means, or me trying to put a different spin on the word. That's what it means to be wise. That's what wisdom is. Not what I think it is, or my definition of it. That's the true definition of the word wisdom. So since most people have done zero output of the truth onto the world, they haven't become wise. And that's one of the things we're here to do. It's not just to fucking learn what's going on and understand it and be horrified by it, complain about it. It's to do something about it. Do something that is right and true and correct with what you have come to know and understand. And that's what imparts wisdom to yourself. And then you'll inspire other people to impart wisdom to themselves through their actions. And here's how the trivium works. It starts with the availability of information, which can lead to knowledge if we aggregate it. The absence of that, the lack of that, is ignorance. So the first building block of the trivium in the world is, do we have knowledge, or do we have the lack of knowledge, which is called ignorance? Available information. This is the first level, the foundation of the trivium in the world. This constitutes all potential forms of data that may be gathered, processed, understood, and acted upon by individuals. It all starts there. So why do you think the occultists want certain information to remain occulted or hidden? Because if you affect reality at this level, the very foundational building block of available information, you already control it. You already control the reality that is going to be experienced. And they know this. That's why knowledge isn't power itself. It is a means to power. If you gather it, understand it, and act rightly upon it, then you're going to be empowered. If you don't have it because you can't even gather it, because the information isn't available or has largely been made unavailable, then you can't convert that knowledge into understanding, right action, and therefore into power. And again, they don't have any real power. Their power is illusory. So even though they have that knowledge and they've hidden it from other people, they're not acting rightly upon it in the third step of the trivium, which is why they can't ever create true order. They can only ever create chaos. The dark magicians, the dark occultists. That's how stupid they are in their actual understanding of the trivium. They think they're going to create order. But see, they don't look at worldly order the way we do. They only care whether it's order for themselves. Fuck everybody else. That's their satanic mindset. See? So it doesn't matter to them whether the world ends up in chaos and slavery, as long as they perceive that they're ruling a kingdom of garbage. As long as they come out on the garbage throne. It's not the iron throne, it's the throne of trash. Because that's all they're going to be ruling, is a world of fucking garbage. The second step of the trivium is the understanding step, or lack thereof. Again, either you understand it or you remain in confusion about it. I have people in person that I speak to all the time. I'm just confused about how things really work in the world. I see the effects of what's going on, but I don't understand the why. Yeah, it's because you haven't put the trivium as a tool in hand and utilized it to come to the correct understanding. Then you won't be in confusion anymore. Having understanding in hand will direct or not having it, will direct our decision-making processes. So we start with a foundation of information, and then we start making decisions based on the information we either have and understand, or don't have and don't understand. The processing of available information takes place within the human mind and becomes the life choices of each individual. That is what the second step is. The understanding step is processing of available information, which takes place within the human mind, and then becomes the life choices of each individual, based upon the information that they gathered in step one, and whether they are accurately coming to an understanding of that information and what it means. But see, how effective are you going to be at step number 2 if you didn't gather the data in step 1? If you don't even have the grammar, you don't even have the parts of the sentences, how are you going to even construct a sentence that even makes sense in step 2? That's how you have to look at this from an, analogy model. So that's step 2. Step 3, like we just talked about, is wisdom, which is right action or lack thereof. Are you engaged in wisdom or folly, which is the opposite of wisdom, which doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something directly malevolent, but it means that the behavior that you're acting is not wise. Folly is the opposite of wisdom in the sense that you're still doing things in the world, but they're not really things that are based in wise judgment. for whatever reason and whatever trauma, however you want to word it or look at it, whatever excuses people give for not teaching people this information and putting this knowledge out into the world in a way that helps to make it common sense for everybody, they're engaging in felonious behavior, folly. Or not even felonious, just behavior based in pure folly. It's not wise, okay? Because each individual's behavior is based upon the quality of their decision-making processes in step 2, which those decision-making processes in turn were based upon the quality of their available information in step 1. So somewhere along the line, people who are not really doing the great work came off the rails, came off the track, and they decided, I can't be bothered to do that for whatever reason. I'm too scared. I don't have enough courage. I don't have the time. I have to do other things for myself and my own, and therefore this can't cut into that time. I am not good enough. I'm not smart enough. All these lies we tell ourselves, right? It's one of a few things. It's one of the 4 killers of freedom and consciousness. It's ignorance, which is step 1, right? That's the lack thereof on the knowledge box, ignorance. And some people don't have that one. They are knowledgeable, right? People who have wisdom can still be people who don't necessarily have wisdom can still be knowledgeable, right? So you can make it up to step 1 and be a knowledgeable person, have a lot of knowledge, but still not be wise, right? So ignorance is definitely one of the things that blocks us. That's in step 1, it blocks us, right? So then apathy, you could say that can block you from knowledge, understanding, or wisdom. Not caring, not having the heart, not enough true care to do it. And I would say that is one of the things that really prevents wisdom. Because you could say you care all you want, but if you're not actively doing it, then do you truly care? Or do you truly know? See, so some people would say, philosophically, even the knowledge that they claim to have is an illusion of knowledge if they're not acting rightly upon it. It certainly means they haven't come to a high enough level of care. Because to look at the world and realize it's enslaved, realize all the people of the world are enslaved, and definitively knowing that the only way we're going to get out of that slavery is communication of the truth to people, especially when they're young. But to put that information out there in a wide way that it can become accepted as common sense knowledge of how reality works, and to willfully choose to not do that, by definition has to mean that you don't care whether the state of slavery continues. So apathy is definitely one of the things that prevents people from wisdom. Whether they consider themselves an apathetic person or not, it simply means you haven't come to a high enough level of true care. You care, but not enough. You see? And that's one of the things that stops people from actually engaging in action in the world to make the world a better place. They care, but only in a sense that it doesn't lead to discomfort for them. And therefore, can you really care enough about changing the state of human slavery if you say, I'll only do some things as long as it doesn't lead to any discomfort in my life? You know what that is? It's called a cop-out. That's called a cop-out. It's making an excuse for why you're not doing it. The other destroyers of freedom are laziness and inaction. And really what we're talking about here is inaction itself. So clearly they're in that state of inaction. Lack of willpower to do that action. right? Not enough courage to do that action. So cowardice is another destroyer. So of action. So ignorance, apathy, laziness, inaction, cowardice. They're the 5 things that destroy wisdom. So if people aren't taking right action based on what they know and have come to understand, can it truly be said that they're knowledgeable? Isn't that a form of ignorance in and of itself? They're ignoring the importance of their own actions. See, this is what the philosopher from the East, Yang Ming, said. To know, but not to do, is not to know. It means there's only an illusion of knowledge or a claim of knowledge. Because to have true knowledge means you know that you have to act rightly in the world. And again, I'm not just talking about not harming someone. You know, a lot of people think to act rightly in a time of slavery is just not to initiate harm. That would be true if all things were equal and tyranny wasn't taking place all over the world. Then right action would be as simple as not initiating harm, not initiating or taking part in harmful behavior. When tyranny is already entrenched, doing the right thing involves even more than just passively not doing harm. It means speaking out publicly to tell people this isn't right. You have no right to do this. This is immoral. And this is the initiation of harm, which you have no right to engage in. When people don't do that, that's when societies truly collapse. It is not a permanent and impossible. It's not a permanent and definitive thing that societies are born and collapse. I watched a documentary which was pretty well done with the graphics and everything. I can't remember who the researcher was, but they kind of like almost imply that this is just a natural cycle and it has to continue this way, where civilizations rise, fall, new ones rise, they fall, etc. It's not true. There is a way to sustain order and prosperity, and that is adherence to natural law. The ultimate solution is behaving rightly. And during a decline of civilization due to immoral practices and corruption, the only way to reverse that is through telling the truth with the voice. The universe is spoken into existence. Ultimately, this is all about what we say. Because saying something through communicating it in whatever form of communication, whether physical voice, writing it down, putting it on video, putting it in some form of audio, putting it in a book, etc. It doesn't matter what form of creative media you use to do it. That is part of right action and wisdom. And that's the only thing that can save a society that is on its death throes from immorality and corruption. But how many people are doing it? How many people are courageously and just setting aside their fear and just doing it, setting aside their discomfort, making the personal sacrifice to do it? And how many people will give you one excuse or another of why they won't do it, which ultimately means they don't care enough. And again, you could say you care all you want, but all that ultimately matters is your behavior. You know, the words coming out of your mouth about what you did or didn't do aren't going to matter when your soul gets judged, and it will be judged. There is judgment in the world. That's what justice is. Justice is the judgment of creation. That's why they're at the top and bottom of the macrocosmic tree of life when you lay the tarot cards out on the tree of life of the Kabbalah. Justice is at the Keter position at the top, and judgment is at the Malkuth position at the bottom of the tree. What do you think, that's fucking accidental? That they're in positions 1 and 10? The beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, you think that's accidental? That's why I know people still don't understand the tarot. They'll say that they understand it, they don't understand fucking shit about it. Again, we got to understand the difference between making a claim of saying you want something versus being willing to do what needs to be done to actually manifest it. And most people aren't even close to being there at all. Not even close. They'll say they want it out the ass all day long. Verbal diarrhea pouring out of their mouth. I want freedom. Hold on a minute. Let's bring in a guest here. Oh, I can't. I have to switch out to do that. Oh, I'm going to do it anyway. How about that? Let's make it happen. Let's force it. Let's force the issue. Here's what they look like. And it's really not funny. I shouldn't even make a joke about it, but they're like, yeah, I want freedom. Yeah, but you know what? I'm just too busy to create anything and put the word out to people. Or I'm just too cowardly to speak out, you know. Or I just don't give a shit enough, you know what I mean? But I want freedom. I think I'm a wise person. I think I'm doing the right thing, but I want freedom, but don't ask me to do any of those things. You know, and honestly, I can't even really laugh too much about it because it's really fucking sad. It's not that funny. It's actually very fucking sad. You know? It's very unfortunate. To interject a little bit of sour, dark humor. You know, that's about my speed with humor right now. But like I said, it's not really that fucking funny. It's kind of fucking pathetic is what it is. Because ultimately, regardless of however people make excuses for not doing the right thing in life by speaking out in a time of tyranny, and putting the word out there through their creative efforts to try to get other people to understand what's really going on. That is what ultimately, those 3 steps at the bottom level of the trivium process in the world, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, gathering the information, understanding what it means, putting that out there to others ultimately, is going to create the manifested reality of the human condition that we must then experience as our lives, which I call the generated result or the manifested reality. And this will come in the form of order or chaos. So knowledge at the bottom there or ignorance, understanding or confusion, wisdom or folly, and then the generated result is order or chaos. The quality of the condition which manifests in any given society is directly based upon the aggregate quality of behavior within that society, which is the ultimate law of attraction, which is the law of freedom. Already explained earlier in this part 4 of this presentation. Folks, that's the most important slide in all of my work. I've said this many times. If you do not understand how the trivium functions in your own personal life to understand things and how it works in all of society to generate the result that we all collectively experience, you don't understand any part of my work. And you certainly don't understand your role in this effort versus are you involved in it at all, truly? Because you spout some nonsense on fucking Facebook doesn't mean you're involved in it truly. Because you tweet a few things out a week doesn't mean you're involved in it truly. We are here to act as creators with a small c. Creation with a large C gave us a mind capable of understanding morality, and then creating something to teach it to others in a time where most people don't understand what true and objective morality is. And then we want to make excuses for why we're not going to do that. And then we want to think in the next breath we're not going to be held to cosmic justice for that. You're in the way of cosmic justice, as Jordan Maxwell said repeatedly, when you're not involved in that process. You're standing in the way of cosmic justice. And you know what happens then? You're going to experience cosmic judgment. I need to make a presentation called Cosmic Justice and Cosmic Judgment. That's coming. That's a future presentation, which of course will be somewhat of a review of natural law, but I specifically want to speak to those things. Cosmic justice and cosmic judgment, especially, which is what I've said when I was interviewed on InfoWars by Alex Jones. He would ask me, what do you consider this time period that we're living in? I want to back up there. What would you consider the time period that as I rebuild this slide, what would you consider the time period that we're living in? And I said, it's cosmic judgment. We are living in the period that I call cosmic judgment. This is the great judgment of the souls of humanity on this planet during this incarnation of the human experience. And you know what we're doing? We are bombing out of the classroom. Let me just say that absolutely undisputedly and definitively one more time. Do you know what humanity as the students in the classroom are doing? We are wickedly failing the class, and we are bombing the fuck out of the classroom. Because we don't understand what I built out in this slide, and we refuse to actually take the right actions necessary for reversing this condition of slavery that we are in. What God should have mercy on anyone like that? He should go in on them as hard as fucking possible. Because they're not worth anything more than getting something like that, than getting something even worse than what we already have. People don't deserve anything better than what we have. This is as good as we envisioned for ourselves. You know, and think about how fucking pathetic that is and how fucking sad that is. This is as good as humanity could envision reality for itself because of how this is as good as we could fucking behave in the world. And then we have people that say we deserve anything better, or they personally deserve anything better, when they haven't actually really truly acted the right way that is required, that is a personal and cosmic requirement of behavior to undo this condition. They don't deserve anything fucking better than this. They deserve infinitely worse. They're too fucking comfortable. Their lives are still too physically comfortable. They got to be taken even viciously and to an incredibly greater extent be taken out of their life of comfort and have nothing, no creature comfort at all. Then maybe they'll say, let me get off my fucking lazy fucking ass and do something. But as long as they stay on their lazy fucking ass and keep making excuses, enjoy the slavery you have, it's going to get worse. You think the whole corona bullshit was the end of it? It's going to get infinitely worse. It's going to get so bad they'll be roasting fucking infants in the street on spits. That's where it's going. You think sacrificing babies to Moloch in the Carthaginian in the society in the ancient world was as bad as it gets? It's going to degenerate into infinitely worse things than that because of people's inaction. Ultimately stemming from their apathy because they don't fucking care enough. Another thing of understanding the world of the occult and getting your head out from up your ass is understanding causality, which I've already briefly touched upon, that these people who are stuck in the fucking material plane, they're stuck in the realm of effects, they are stuck in materialism, they're stuck in scientism, they're atheists, etc. They're never understanding the why, and therefore they have no power. The plane of effects is the manifested realities which all were formed as a direct result of their causes. In other words, they're the be cause. That means they came into manifestation as a direct result of their causes. The cause that manifested them to be. That's what the word be cause means. There is no power here in the plane of effects. The ability to create change in the world does not come from matter. It comes from the realm of the mind. You cannot create change in the realm of effects. No power to create change lies here because our consciousness is trapped in the realm of matter. If your consciousness is trapped in the material, you have no power. This is the physical reality, identification with the physical only, worldly happenings. People, another anecdote I wanted to talk about is I constantly get emails from people. Are you going to talk about what's going on in Ukraine? Are you going to talk about what's going on here and there and the other place and this place? And the answer is, I don't talk about worldly happenings here. I will allude to certain worldly happenings and psyops to get to the underlying causes of why fucking dumb, imbecilic, fucking baby, naive imbeciles believe in this shit and get all wrapped up in it. This is not a show about current events. The show is called What on Earth is Happening, not because I talk about current events, because I talk about the underlying causal factors of manifestation that lead to all the negative current events that we are experiencing here on this planet. I don't know how people haven't understood that by now, because I still get bombarded with messages and questions of, will you be talking about this, that, or the other thing, which are all like not, truly non-long-term important causal worldly happenings. Yeah, I understand a lot of people affected in the regions that things like this are taking place in. A lot of bad things are happening to their lives, but it's a psyop, McFly, and I'm not saying that doesn't mean a psyop will affect your lives. The people involved in, that were in the towers during 9/11 are dead, and it affected their lives and their families' lives. That's not the level that I mean, that it's a psyop on. I mean, doing these events that are mass murder rituals, ultimately, are simply there to lead people into a way of viewing the world and complying with the globalist and occultist agenda. That's what makes it a psyop. So the answer is, I don't get into just physical worldly happenings. If you look at almost every single aspect of every piece of work I've put out, it deals with human psychology. That's what an occultist is. Someone who has studied the occult like I have is a master psychologist that understands why people think the way they think, why they believe the things they believe, why they do the things they do. And that's the problem. People get focused on the worldly happenings. But what are these things? They're the results we've gotten up to this point in manifested reality. They are the manifested realities which formed because of or as a direct result of their causes in the plane of causality, which is the underlying foundation that is way underneath the plane of effects. That's why I physically set it up as being on top of it, as the plane of effects being on top of the plane of causality and the plane of causality being underneath the plane of effects as a foundation. The plane of causality, on the other hand, is the why that we talked about, that underlies and precedes all manifestation. All power to effect change lies in the plane of causality. This is where human consciousness must go to get out of slavery. Stop being focused on the physical world, just the 3D worldly happenings, because those are set in stone, because they were generated and they were formed as a result of the why. What people thought, how they behaved. This is our mental and spiritual reality. It's the why of why it happened. It's the cause which causes the results. And that is ultimately behavior. But it's what precedes behavior, right? Once the behavior is done, then the manifested reality gets set in stone as the present moment. The plane of causality is what immediately precedes the behavior through information, through did we understand it or not? Were we knowledgeable or ignorant? Did we understand what it meant? Or did we remain in a state of confusion because we didn't even gather and understand the information we needed to? And then did we act rightly, or did we ignore right action? Did we not engage in right action for whatever excuse we offered? Everybody is affecting our reality based on those relationships, based on those dynamics. So this is the direction that reality manifests in. It starts in the individual mind, and then all of the individuals that comprise the aggregate of society, from the plane of causality of what they think based on the information they have, whether they have actual understanding of how things work or not, and then making behavioral decisions that become their actual behaviors in the physical world, manifest the physical world that we then have to live in and experience. And you know what, folks? I really shouldn't even need to explain this. For most people, this is an aha moment. This is like blowing the top of their head off. But this should be common sense. This is something that every child should understand, let alone adults. And we don't. And that's why I'm bitter. And I'm not just bitter because people don't understand it. I'm bitter because I've been teaching it for fucking 15 years and they still don't understand it. And even people who say they understand it still aren't doing anything, which means they don't fucking understand it. If you understand it, you're acting on it. So in the next section, what I want to do is explain the entirety of this presentation that I've been giving, and in general, the human journey in consciousness, allegorically by the Great Pyramid's design. Many people will speculate that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a communications device. Some have said it was a tomb. Obviously, I don't believe that. Okay. Some have said that it was a marker of some type on the earth. Some speculate that it was a power center that generated electricity or other type of wireless power, and or even was a communicative device similar to an old cell tower of some kind that could send information wirelessly. There's many theories for what it is. But another theory is that it was simply something put there by very, very wise people that could have been human, could have been extraterrestrial. I leave speculation open that it might not have been a human endeavor. It possibly could have been. And we clearly don't truly know how it is built. A lot of people are speculating now the stones were somehow a concrete mixture and were poured in place. I don't know whether I accept that theory or not. I think perhaps it is possible some of them were. But that's been speculated recently. Regardless of what anybody thinks of the Great Pyramid itself from a physical point of view, I want to look at it from an allegorical point of view, and occult scholars have done this. I am not the creator of this quote theory, that the internals of the Great Pyramid actually represent life on Earth. And it is there is an occult decoding that one can do by looking at a cross section that they knew we would have to have the technology to even explore the pyramid in such a way that we could create a visualized representation of the cross section of the internal chambers and shafts of the Great Pyramid, so that we could, formulate this like side cross-sectional view, and then it becomes an allegorical representation of the soul's journey while it is in incarnation here on Earth. So I'm going to lay out a simple explanation because it really does relate to a lot of the concepts we've been talking about throughout this presentation of fake-ass anarchists. So when I build this out, I think it'll become clearer for those who might be thinking, what the hell is he talking about? When you see how it progresses and how this relates to the physical layout of this cross-sectional map, it'll become clear. So just bear with me as I build out the sections of this. So there's one entrance to the Great Pyramid on the outside if you don't consider the shafts the vertical shafts that you see there on the left and right, higher up. The only place that a human being could actually fit through is this entranceway on one of the sides. And technically, there's 8 sides to the pyramid. Many people don't know that. It is not a 4-sided structure. Each one of the sides is actually indented a little bit toward the center, and that forms actually 8 sides, which makes the construction even far more complicated geometrically. But going back to the allegory of decoding the Pyramid of Giza, the Great Pyramid of Giza, as an allegorical journey of human life and our journey in consciousness and in spirit while we're incarnated here in the flesh on earth. The entrance represents physical incarnation, coming into the dense world of matter, right? Into the stone, okay? Into the blocks representing a soul trap of sorts, or simply density. Far more dense than spirit, but here to teach a lesson for us to rediscover who we really are, to a rediscovery of our soul and our consciousness. So, birth puts us into the stone of the pyramid. We have actually entered the structure of matter, and that's incarnation or birth. Then, as we begin to live, we're immediately on a descending journey, because most people begin to identify physical life with matter and leave out the spirit and see things only from a materialistic, dense, lack of spirituality point of view. And that is why the passageway that you enter is an immediate descending passageway, meaning often right out of the birth canal, people are on a materialistic pathway in life, and they're on a descending journey in this plane of existence. So you could look at this entire passage, starting with birth and going all the way to the subterranean chambers of the Great Pyramid of Giza, as the pathway of materialism. Now, if you look at the fork that it takes with the ascending passageway, it is the left-hand path. If we were to turn this image onto its side, 90 degrees clockwise to the right, you would look at the descending passageway, okay, and the ascending passageway, that fork, as left and right passages, and the descending passageway of materialism and lack of true spirituality is the left-hand path, okay, at least when seen from this side of the pyramid. So, very interestingly, that pathway represents the left-hand path, materialism, leading to Satanism. Continuing on, speaking of Satanism, the subterranean chambers and what they simply refer to in Egyptology as the pit is Satanism and slavery. This is the soul being crushed, being destroyed, you see, because it's under the ground. Now you're not even in the stone, you're buried, right? The soul is buried in the earth, right? You're not even above ground level at this point, because you could see the difference in color representing the stone versus where the actual plane of the earth is at in the cross-section construction of this structure, that you descend and descend and descend. Eventually you're in the ground already, meaning it's like a death of the spirit. And then you're in what they call the pit. And it's a deliberate name given to the place that's like a trap. It's a prison. Okay? And it's very difficult to make the ascent back to life, back to the rebirth of the spirit, the rebirth of the soul, by getting out of the physically dense materialistic structure of the pyramid. So that underground pit is representative of the satanic mindset of total materialism, the absence of spirituality completely, to the point where one is, quote unquote, soul dead. And that is slavery. And that's the globalist, that's the dark occultist agenda. They want us deadened in our souls. and in the permanent pit of Satanism and slavery here on earth, deep, deep, deep under the ground. And I mean that allegorically, buried. But people still being alive in that state of slavery and abject soul deadness. Then you will see there is, if you allow it to get to that point, there is this, the very end of that journey is extinction and the process of total involution. And that's what we're really talking about. Soul deadness leading to really our species not evolving and being truly trapped in a permanent prison here for any souls that do continue to incarnate here. And that is the exact opposite of what creation wants. It wants freedom of expression. It wants freedom of form, to evolve into higher forms and more differentiated forms. That is what true evolution is, and the continuance of a species is all about. That's the opposite of involution, possibly even leading to extinction or something worse than extinction. Never being able to come out of that state of slavery. That's hell. That's hell on earth, which is rapidly being built. So if we don't want to end up there, we have to obviously take the ascending passageway. And the ascending passageway doesn't lead to higher level spirituality right away. That's later on. But it at least reverses the course at this low point of consciousness. It reverses the point of descending into materiality, materialism, and Satanism. So you see that escape shaft there. I think I do label that later on. But it represents a torturous ascent that is far more narrow and dangerous once you've let things descend into the point of Satanism and slavery. And that may be the point we have to take, that torturous journey upward, where, we're not even going back up the descending passageway. We'd have to take that escape shaft. But if we continue up the limited spirituality of the ascending passageway in consciousness, we would then arrive, if we level off and we don't go into the grand gallery and upward from there, we would level off into what is known as the Queen's Chamber in the lower section of the middle of the pyramids, which does have star shafts, as they call them, leading out to pointing at certain stars, in the heavens, which represent the soul escaping the, trap of materiality, materialism, dense incarnation and identification with the material plane, etc. And there are those shafts. There's one on the left and one on the right, extending outward from the Queen's Chamber. And this represents freedom from the density and the wrong decisions, the lack of understanding causality of the material plane. It is an evolution for our species. It is a way out. But it does represent a lower form of consciousness. It is what I refer to as unconscious morality, which is not long-term sustainable. It can get us to the place of we're experiencing freedom. We're experiencing evolution to a limited extent. We've gotten out of what would have been the opposite result or manifested result of slavery. But we didn't do it at a fully conscious level of understanding. We let religion get us there. That's what the Queen's Chamber represents, is traditional forms of religion taught through moral allegory, where they're not decoded and demystified. The allegories aren't decoded and demystified, and people either just accept it on face value, accept what the alleged leaders of the religion who are supposed to be wiser than them tell them, and or they just accept the allegorical stories of their traditional religion on face value without ever truly decoding them properly from a moral point of view. So, can traditional religion help us to live moral lives? If we strip away all the bullshit and all of the, cultural trappings that have grown up over the seed of truth that is contained within the heart of the traditional religions, possibly they could enable us to get there for a time. But they are simply long-term not sustainable, even doing that and stripping away the allegory, because we're not getting to a higher level of how science works, how the science of morality actually works. This is like what the Queen's Chamber in traditional religion would be seen at as this allegory is a group of people coming together who may have understood natural law from a deep scientific perspective in the ancient past, and they came together as a priest class, and they have this conversation with each other. They go, look, these motherfuckers are way too stupid to understand this. They're just fucking dunce morons. We're obviously way fucking smarter than them, so we're going to have to give them dumbed down stories to get their little puny fucking retarded fucking brains to understand a limited extent and a limited form of what we've come to understand through a scientific investigation. So we'll create a religion and give these stupid motherfuckers a story to accept so that it stops them from making dumb fucking mistakes that lead them into slavery and Satanism. And that's what traditional religion was. I've speculated it could have been given to us by a non-terrestrial species. Many different forms of religion culturally may have. If you don't accept that and you want to believe it's just human beings making it up, it doesn't really matter, because what ultimately matters is it doesn't get us to the truth and the science of how the science of morality really truly works, and how our experience in life as the human condition is going to be dictated by that understanding. It doesn't tell you the truth about it. It gives you a baby's fucking idea of it. It's like somebody trying to learn nuclear physics and you're just telling baby, smash atom together, things go boom. Or whatever you want to look at, whatever endeavor of science you want to look at. You know, you're trying to teach people biology and you're telling the baby as a stork brings the fucking baby to the mom. You know, it's a child's way of looking at reality and understanding something. It's not true understanding of something. It's just people saying to other people, you're so fucking dumb. We got to give you a story to keep you on even a little bit on the track, or you're going to go way off the fucking rails and descend down into the fucking pit. So I hope that's clearly understood allegorically of what that's supposed to represent. So this form of falling into morality accidentally because you believed in some bullshit stories doesn't sustain conscious living that generates true freedom continually. It does not get you to evolve continually. It might preserve you from going directly into disaster for a short period of time, but it doesn't get you to the place you really need to get to, which is an accurate scientific, true scientific understanding of how morality is directly connected with the result that you get in the human condition. So the place where religion and real science, as hidden though it may be, diverge is where the path that levels off as a plateau leading to the Queen's Chamber versus an additional ascending passageway known as the Grand Gallery fork. Okay? So that fork represents, so the first fork down after the birth canal, the beginning of the descending passageway, where it forks from the ascending passageway is the place where materialism and spirituality fork. The second place is where spirituality becomes religion, right? And where it forks from the new ascending passageway is where religion and the science of morality fork. Religion gives you bullshit stories about morality to keep people that they consider too dumb to understand the science somewhat on track in an unsustainable fashion. But the Grand Gallery actually represents the beginning of one's initiation into the occult sciences of morality and natural law. And again, those were reserved by the priest class and held from, unfortunately, the general public because they considered them too dumb to learn the truth. So going into the Grand Gallery is where you reject religion and you say, no, I don't want your bullshit allegory stories, which could help you learn if you decode them and understand what they really mean. But I want the real science. Give me the true meat. I don't want baby's milk, So give me the true substance here. And that's the initiation into occult science. And then that leads to what is known as the King's Chamber. And what the King's Chamber truly is, and it's a representation of the Jed pillar, or the Jed pillar, the D is technically silent, which is the Kundalini energy bursting through the crown chakra. The Jed one is truly spiritually awakened. They are beyond even what we would consider traditional limited spirituality, and they become enlightened because they know the science of how it really works. So this represents a very deep, profound understanding of natural law as it really works in the world. And of course, the star shafts that split off from the King's Chamber, where there is an empty sarcophagus, meaning there is, not in the star shaft, but in the King's Chamber, there is no body. There is no manifestation. The spirit has left the confines of the material domain because one is in the world but not of it. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily just out of the flesh physically. You're out of identification with the flesh. You're out of materialism. You're out of lack of spirituality. Now you know how the planes of incarnation on the physical domain actually work to help evolve the spirit and push it to higher forms of consciousness, higher differentiation, more freedom, more expression. That's true evolution. And the star shafts leading from the King's Chamber represent that. True freedom, true evolution, the way out of identification with the material plane. And this is conscious morality from a scientific perspective. It's not accidental, unconscious, falling into the bullshit allegory story that the priest class gave us because they think we're too stupid to understand the real science. This is true conscious morality, understood from a scientific perspective. Therefore, this form of freedom that manifests from this understanding is sustainable, long term. So, if you understand this decoding, it's so brilliantly done and put together, and it represents something that is like the whole purpose in life. This is what to live a purpose-driven life really means. Not to fall for the things that are deep slides into more and more Satanism and slavery, but to continue to climb and ascend in a structure that is dense. And again, that escape shaft, which I alluded to earlier, is awakening via suffering and having to take a torturous climb in a very narrow shaft upward to even get to the point where you can make a choice between traditional religion and the understanding of the true occult sciences. You see, you only get to the beginning of that at the top of the first ascending passageway, before the Grand Gallery and before the leveling off chamber that leads to the Queen's Chamber. It doesn't even promise that you'll get directly to the King's Chamber, you see. It's just taking you to the second fork. So just think about that. And that's where I say we're at, right? We may not be at the extinction level point, but we're in that first box down at the bottom called the pit, which is Satanism and slavery. And even if we do start climbing upward, we're at the point where we've descended so far, our only option is going to be the escape shaft. And that's why I refer to this time period as cosmic judgment. And I say that most people are choosing what I call the way of maximum pain. The way of maximum pain is what we're choosing collectively in the aggregate together as the human species. And that is why even if people do awaken, it's probably going to be due to intense suffering. Intense suffering is what's probably going to lead people to awaken, not anything else. I'm just taking a look at how many slides are left. I probably will be able to wrap up today, and we'll do an all call-in show next week, and I'll take all of your calls and questions on Fake-Ass Anarchists Revisited, 4-part series on the What on Earth is Happening podcast. So that'll be next week. But continuing, I think if you understand this brilliant allegory, it says so much, and it occultically decodes what our real purpose here in life is to do, which is to learn and grow in consciousness and free ourselves from the confines of a totally materially identified perspective of reality so that we can understand the true science of morality, of natural law, and we can create consciously together a state of sustainable freedom. So I think more than anything else, the pyramids were built to encode this message. How better to encode a message that can never be destroyed or censored? You want to talk about future-proofing a message. That's a way to do it. Okay? Regardless of who built it or how. See, this gets to the why, right? You could talk all day about who did it. You could talk all day about how they did it. But get to the why of why they did it. And this is probably the best why anybody has ever explained, certainly to me. And again, this is not my work directly. I may be explaining it somewhat even deeper than many people have in the past, but this is something that alternative Egyptologists and occultists have speculated that the pyramid may have been built to convey, the message that it may have been built to convey, and I would tend to agree. So let's move on. So let's wrap the whole presentation up by talking about why are there so many fake anarchists and factions and categories of fake anarchists. And my answer is the whole fake anarchist psyop is just that. It's one big psyop. Regardless of what false form of anarchy people want to latch onto, they were all put out there by the occult world, by the dark occultists of our world, by the think tanks, the influencers of humanity toward the negative, toward involution and stagnation, the occult orders, dark occult orders, intelligence agencies, and they create new religions for people to latch onto so that they don't come to an understanding of the truth. That's what religion is there for. It is there to prevent the emergence of the understanding of how things really do work. And that is what the creation of all these fake hyphenated forms of anarchy are all there to do. It's one large psyop. It's a psyop, McFly. Hello, McFly. It's a psyop. It's a psyop, McFly. We need that t-shirt. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to make something akin to that. It'll get out there soon when I put in a new t-shirt order. It'll be a fun one. Probably just a novelty one that I won't keep on, forever. It'll be a limited edition run. Okay, so, but that's what this all is. This is part of psychological warfare. Psychological warfare, also called psyops, is a military term used to describe any action which is practiced mainly by psychological methods. This isn't phys war, as they call it, or physical war. This is psi war. Psyops have the main goal of evoking a planned psychological reaction in those against whom it is employed. So this is a warfare technique to weaken your enemy through their mind, not attacking their body. The many forms of fake-ass anarchism, so-called in double quotes there, comprise one huge psyop that is being perpetrated against the people of our world. So again, as I said, I'm going to revisit this topic of psyops soon on the podcast. But this is an introduction to it, right? Fake-ass Anarchist is the first series of shows or podcasts on psyops. This is what I'm starting with. Then we're going to explore other psyops at some future point, probably this season. So it is also perpetrated against the fake-ass anarchists themselves, as many of them are not, I should say perpetrated by the fake anarchists themselves, as many of them are not knowingly malicious. Yeah. Many forms of fake-ass anarchism comprise a huge psyop that is being perpetrated against the people of our world. It is also perpetrated, so I should say against the people of our world by dark occultists. It's a little unclear how I worded this on the slide. It's okay. It still gets the message across. But to clarify it, what I'm saying is the real occult manipulators put out the psyop. Other people then continue putting the psyop out themselves. Okay? So the psyop is perpetuated not only by the social engineers, the occult think tanks, the occult, the dark occultists themselves, but it's then repeated and put out there by these people who have latched onto the fake religion that they've been given by the higher ups in the occult world, conducting the actual military psyop operation upon them, and then they continue the psyop against others. So it becomes a machine operation that just perpetuates itself. It's a virus, okay, that perpetuates itself. So many of the people perpetuating this are not knowingly malicious, but they're misled due to their colossal, willful ignorance, their naivete, and I just worded here their colossal, willful ignorance of truth and reality. They are not sophisticated enough. They have not come out of their naivete of mind and their naivete in their psychology to understand that these different forms of fake-ass anarchism, so-called, are altogether one large psyop operation being conducted upon the world. The fake so-called anarchism, psyop, has a two-pronged effect upon humanity. Number one, the number one effect or purpose of running the psyop to begin with is the ruling class or the occult class who is running the psyop keeps their potential opponents completely ineffective and spinning in circles, thinking and doing things that will never and can never lead to true freedom. That's the whole point. Put them in a dialectic where the solution is never even there. So you can pick all the different dialectical endpoints of fake-ass anarchy. You could take the left-leaning paths of anarcho-communism, anarcho-socialism, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And then you could take the right-leaning paths, anarcho-capitalism. You could take the left-brain paths, anarcho-transhumanism, the right-brain paths, anarcho-pacifism. They're all dialectics in the game of putting you off of what real anarchy is and how it's related to objective morality and natural law. And that's the only thing the psyop is there for. It's one of the main things. Like I said, the main thing the ruling class wants to do is keep people away from the knowledge of natural law. And all they have to do is keep giving them fake religions to do it. They give them fake religions, people aren't looking into the real solution, and they stay in slavery. Like I said, most fake-ass anarchists are in resistance. They're not in resistance to tyranny and slavery. They're in resistance to learning the very information that they need to get out of tyranny and slavery. And they don't want to learn. I'm the asshole. I'm the one who's wrong in their minds. No, you're fucking wrong. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm right. I've come to the correct conclusion. I've come to the correct answer because I'm more intelligent and driven to come to the correct answer than you dumb fuck. And that's the reality of the situation. Get as fucking offended about it as you want. It's still the truth. I'm still correct and you're still wrong. If you're in one of those bullshit forms of fake-ass anarchy. And like I said, I'll be an even bigger asshole about it. Come and see me in person about it. If you think you're badass. And like I said, I'm not asking for a problem, but I'll say it right to your fucking face, not over the internet. I'm not a keyboard commando. See me in person about it, motherfucker. And let's see what happens. You know? Like I said, I will abide by natural law, but people aren't going to tell me that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm smarter than almost every last fucking one of you. That's why the occultists wanted me in their ranks, because they knew what the potential of my fucking intelligence and my IQ is. And they didn't want real care emerging inside of me. They only wanted it in that intellectual capacity to do their biddings and achieve their goals and their ends. Continuing on here, number 2, the second reason, the second effect that the fake-ass anarchism psyop has on humanity is the ignorant public at large is led to believe through mainstream media, propaganda, and repetition that the fake anarchists and their so-called movements in any way represent real anarchy or true anarchy. So this gets the public mindset to turn against real anarchists out there because they're lumped in with all the fucking morons believing in all the fake forms of anarchy. Just like it's a psyop to get people in the flat earth movement so that the public looks at people in the real truth movement who are trying to explain what's really going on with the control system and identify them in the same group of people who identify as flat earthers. And they go, what do you believe in flat earth too, moron? Oh, you believe we're all slaves. What are you, a flat earther? See, it takes the very serious and real situation of human slavery through government and it groups it into a group of people with no fucking brain that fell into a religious psyop, put there by their own fucking controllers, the occult priest class and the class of occultists in the fucking intelligence agencies, giving them a religion to latch on to. And they did it because they don't have any understanding of how science really works. They probably failed in most of their science classes in fucking even elementary school, let alone studying it from a higher perspective. And they certainly don't understand natural law, and they're religious people largely, and all that movement is to them is it's proof of God because God did it. That's why. That's why it doesn't make sense any other way. You just got to believe God did it. So this makes the public antagonistic toward true anarchists, and most importantly, it makes them believe that anarchy itself, which is true freedom, is dangerous to human society. That's the whole purpose of the entire movement of fake anarchists. It's all a psyop. It's a psyop, McFly. It's one big psyop, McFly. And the last thing that is in their religious mindset is they can't say that they were wrong. The cosmic apology has to be offered. The most powerful phrase in all of human languages is simultaneously the most difficult phrase for any human to speak, and it is, I was wrong. And only when those who have been inauthentic, incorrect, and even immoral say this phrase first to themselves and then to all of humanity and all of creation at large, will they begin their great journey toward true healing and true spiritual awakening, just as we talked about in the allegory of the Great Pyramid. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have thoroughly enjoyed this 4-part series on Fake-Ass Anarchists Revisited, full extended edition. Next week, we'll take your phone calls on this topic for the whole show. Thank you for listening, everyone. You've been watching What on Earth is Happening. Remember, government is slavery. We'll see you right here next week.